All right, let's get right into it here. This is how you develop a lethal body. Now, I made this long form presentation mainly for individuals that know that, like, you need to do more than just build muscle. You need to do more than just get stronger. Like, if you want to transform your life through fitness, something that I've done personally, you have to be a capable man in all aspects. So that's why I created this presentation here. It's going to cover all of the developmental aspects that you need to hit to really craft this lethal physique and actually make a life-changing, noteworthy transformation. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Justin. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for coming about 6 years now. I am CSCS, NSCA certified. I've worked with pro athletes. I've worked with general population. I've put in my hours in this game, as well as made a crazy transformation of my own. These findings are just going to reflect my observations in this game. Okay, so let's get started here. First, I want to start with this quote, okay? Life is more like wrestling than dancing, in that it requires being prepared to meet what comes and when it comes. Now, this is a quote by Marcus Aurelius in one of his books. I forgot which one, but I really like this quote because this quote just encapsulates my training philosophy, okay? I was a trainer that specialized in athletic development. I trained a lot of athletes, but now I've kind of centered my philosophy around getting people ready for life. Now, I don't really like the term training like an athlete because vast majority of us aren't athletes. And even if you are, the greatest contest of them all is going to be life. Life is going to throw a bunch of things in your way. You know, I'm 27 years old. I've lived through a bunch of crazy shit already, shit that I wouldn't, normally think about, right? So you have to be prepared for it all. And I think that is the best way to train when you have all these things in mind. It's not just good enough to just look pretty. It's not good enough to just lift some things in the gym and, just have gym strength. You have to have all the qualities that make you a competent, dangerous man. And that's just the raw reality. And that's the only way that you're going to change your existence, increase your confidence, and actually walk around here feeling confident in yourself and capable in yourself. So, what is the lethal build? I'm going to break it down. 5 pillars that constitute the lethal build. I'm going to show you the 5 things that you must work on in your fitness to make this noteworthy transformation. First, we're going to start with durability. Now, this is probably the most important one. Durability sets the base for everything that is about to come. You must have a durable body. Life is going to throw things in your way. You're going to fall. You need to get back up. Things are going to hit you. There's nothing worse than being a flimsy man. You must be willing to take hits. You must be hard to kill physically, right? So what does durability mean? It means robust tendons, ligaments, joints, and bones, right? Do you get hurt when you bump your shin against something? Are your joints strong enough to take, force coming down your way? Are your tendons strong? Can you jump repeatedly and not get hurt? These are all very important things. The second aspect, you need a solid muscular frame and structure. Guys, there's no way around it. Muscle is literally armor. Okay, so not even for the bodybuilder, pretty boy aspect of it, you need muscle, you need well-developed muscle to just protect your body from life. Third, are you able to get into unorthodox ranges of motion and resist injury? Now, this is more of a movement component, but are you a robot or are you someone that has a little bit of flexibility to them, right? You can't be too stiff to the point where you can't bend. You need to be able to move and get into these unorthodox ranges of motion that are present in everyday life. Think about the last time you try to move a refrigerator or something. How many unorthodox can you get into these positions and not get hurt and not complain about your back hurting the next day? And lastly, the body can take impact and force. Can you jump off something and land and be okay? Can you land on one leg? Can you land on your hands if you need to and not break anything, right? These are all things to think about. Now, the next thing that you must train is strength. And you guys are probably like, no shit. But strength, like the true definition of strength, is literally how much force can you generate in full body compound movements. Okay, I don't care how much you can generate in a quarter squat. When people just go a quarter of the way and come up, and they do all this crazy weight. How much force can you generate through a large range of motion? Now, this is very important because it shows the strength of your nervous system, and it also shows the strength of your body to like be able to move that amount of resistance that far. Okay, and another definition for strength is your ability to withstand external forces and maintain good body position. When there's a heavy bar on your back, do you just fold and do you just kind of like cave inwards? Okay, you not crumbling is a good definition, is a good example of strength. Now, strength is mandatory. Okay, you can't be someone that just is lean but is weak. Strength is a mandatory thing. There's a lot of strength standards out there. They all differ in certain ways, but I think the biggest thing is actually subscribing to some type of strength standard and holding yourself accountable. Okay, depending on your height and your weight, you should be pushing certain numbers. Okay, there's different numbers. Different people have different standards, but the most important thing is you're aware of these standards and you're constantly trying to better yourself in strength. Strength is one of the most important aspects of this lethal build. Okay, the next pillar is going to be power. Now, what's the difference between strength and power? A lot of people work on strength. A lot of people love pushing heavy weight, but not a lot of people work on their power. Power is your ability to produce strength fast. Now, a lot of people don't do explosive work like they do heavy lifting. Okay, what power means is your ability to receive force and redirect it efficiently and effectively. Can you land from a jump and go again? Can you accelerate one way, make a cut, switch directions, and make an explosive cut to the other direction? These are all things that signify power. Okay, can you receive force and redirect it explosively, dynamically? Can you make cuts? Can you sprint? Can you jump? Can you land? Can you jump again? Right? These are all things that you need to think about. And this is really that extra 1% that not many people train. And then the second aspect of power is your ability to transfer force fluidly and fast throughout the body. Now, have you guys ever seen a bodybuilder punch? They're very strong in the gym, but for some reason it just doesn't work. Because for a successful punch, you need to dig your feet into the ground, right? Rotate your core, and that force transmits through the fist in the upper extremities. But a lot of people, they just don't have that force transmission within their body. It's a skill. It's a skill to learn how to relax so that the force can transfer up your body and down. These are all things to think about. You can't throw a punch all clenched up. So you need to learn how to relax as well as, contract. That is the power aspect of having a lethal build. The next thing you must train to have a lethal build is your movement. Now, movement is your ability to move in more extreme ranges of motion. Okay, when you stay in the gym, right, you probably do a squat to 90 degrees. When I say extreme ranges of motion, it's pushing past these rules of the gym and not really classifying your movement as an exercise, but just being able to move in general. Being able to get in all these crazy positions. Having high movement IQ where you can literally think of something and you could do it with your body. You could pick up skills fast. These are all aspects of movement. Are you able to move in all planes while maintaining integrity throughout the whole body? So a lot of times in gym movements, we move in the sagittal plane, front to back. We do bench press, we do squat, we do rows. Can you move side to side? Can you move in the transverse plane? Can you rotate your body? Rotation is probably one of the most underrated skills, and me as a fitness coach, not many people can rotate. Like, it's a very hard skill to teach a lot of sedentary people. Can you rotate? And when I say rotate, can you plant with your lower body as you rotate your torso freely? These are very important things to think about. And lastly, are you able to be fluid and reflexive? Can you just move? Or are you just that guy with two left feet that's just awkward? And having awkward movement doesn't just stop at like fitness. Like, you literally just awkward in real life and your body language is just off. So there's a lot of weight that movement carries, not only in fitness, but in your day-to-day life. Okay, and the last aspect of having a lethal build, now this isn't really a physical quality, it's just more of an overall quality within your body, is going to be your vitality. Okay, this is not anything to do with movement or anything like this, but you need to have strong health, you need to have a strong immune system, high drive, and testosterone. So you need to put in work to optimize these things. You need to have a clean lifestyle so that you have a vital spirit. And the second part of vitality is having an exceptional body composition and metabolism. Men thrive in the 10 to 20% body fat range. It depends on each individual. Some people do better off leaner, some people do better off a little bit more body fat. But we as men thrive in that 10 to 20% range. So you want to keep it there and you want to stay at the body composition that is the most optimal to support you in health, your immune system, drive, and testosterone. Now, I've created a program that addresses all 5 of these things. You can do literally all of these things with one program. And I haven't seen a program out like this out anywhere. So this is my gift to you guys. I'm going to break down the program here. Before I break down this program, I just need to go over some terminology that I'll be using just so that you guys know. So the way I'm going to distribute this program, I'm going to put certain movements, a primary movement, an accessory movement. You can pick and plug whatever primary or accessory that you want to do. I'll kind of give you some guidelines, but it's really important that you understand the terminology before I show you the program. So number 1 is your primary movements. If I put that in a program, primary movements, think of that as your steak and potatoes. This is your main course. The purpose is to build your main athletic qualities. These are the big compound lifts that directly develop strength, power, and muscle. Think about your back squats. Think about your front squats. Think about your power cleans. Things that are just full body, that are just full send, these are your primary movements. Now, number 2 is accessory movement. What is an accessory movement? The main difference between an accessory movement and a primary movement is an accessory movement's purpose is more to build muscle and reinforce weak points that don't get addressed as much as in the primary movements. So let's say you're doing a back squat with the primary movement. And, if you're a long femur lifter like me, we lean a lot forward in the back squat. We don't get as much quad activation and we shift that weight kind of more to our glutes and our posterior chain. So a good accessory movement for me would be something that prioritizes the quads. Maybe something like a heel elevated squat. So I go all the way down and really get that full knee flexion so I can work on the quads that are neglected when I'm doing, my traditional back squats in the primary. Accessory movements will depend on each individual. Okay, so different people have different muscle weaknesses, right? And accessory movement selection will reflect that. So accessories target specific muscles or patterns to improve symmetry between sides or between front to back, add volume, and support the primary lifts. So these are a little bit less intense, but they kind of fill in the gaps. And lastly, the supplementary movement. Now, I don't really hear too many other coaches use this term. That's why I really wanted to clear things up. I'm going to put supplementary movement on this program as well. And what you need to know about supplementary movements is these build the qualities that make you more capable. These movements develop everything outside of hypertrophy. So this is to build that motor. This is all the big stuff. This is to build muscle, reinforce the weak points, and fill out your frame a little bit. The supplementary movements do everything besides those things. Mobility, your stability, isometrics, maybe you're weak in a certain position. Building extensive work capacity, doing something like extensive plyometrics, right? Which are low intensity level plyometrics that are just designed to develop the resiliency in your ankles. Activation exercises, movement skill exercises, and maybe like weak link development, maybe like your forearms or a very small muscle group. These things are all under the supplementary movement category. And the beautiful thing about the supplementary movements is that these things don't take that much energy. Like you can do these and you don't even need a break. And so I'm going to fit all these in a program here and I'm going to show you. I have 2 programs, okay? So I'm going to split it up. First, we're going to go over full body, and second, we're going to go over upper and lower. Now, you can use either of these programs depending on your goals. I recommend full body for someone that, just kind of wants more versatility. Maybe you're someone that hits the gym 3 times a week, but maybe on some weeks you have time for 5. The full body kind of just lets you flow, depending on however many times you can work out. It's something that's very versatile, very adaptable. The upper and lower, I would recommend for someone that really likes to push intensity. When you do upper and lower, you're practically fresh every day. So, you can really use that to your advantage and really push with intensity. Maybe intensity's the limiting factor in your training or something like that. So you can run either of these programs. They're both going to be very good. I'm going to start with the full body one first. This is how I would map it out, okay? So we got the full body, okay? This is how a typical day in this program goes. Now, you're going to notice that I don't put any exercises on here for you. You can put the exercises in your own. This is more of an intermediate to advanced programming guide, so you can put in the exercises on your own. But what I am going to give you is a certain structure and guideline. You just follow this structure. You're going to have a banging workout every single time, something that's going to allow you to achieve that lethal build. So how you're going to start this workout is first you're going to start with a dynamic warm-up. General mobility plus activation, get your heart rate up, all that good stuff. Next, you're going to go into your movement prep. Now, it's very important that you do drills, movement drills here that support the performance in the lifts that you have planned ahead of the workout, right? So if you're doing something like a front squat, me personally, when I do front squats, I need to kind of activate my thoracic spine. I need to, do exercise that really get my chest up to kind of warm up that upper back. That is the perfect time to do it in this movement prep section, okay? Then you're going to go into a primary lower body lift. So something like a squat, something like a power clean, whatever, something like a deadlift, something along those lines. Big compound movement, you're probably going to need 3 to 5 minutes rest. That's when you do this supplementary exercise in between, and you're going to superset these two, and you're going to do that supplementary exercise as you rest and recharge to hit another set of that primary lower body workout. So you're going to hit a lower body supplementary workout, and this is really going to depend on your limitations. Okay, what do you need to work on here? Are you someone that's very tight? Throw in a mobility exercise. Are you someone that is very unstable with their hips and their ankles? Throw a stability exercise. Are you someone that wants to build up more, plyometric capacity? Do some extensive plyometrics here. Are you someone that struggles with maybe rotation? You can put in a rotational drill here. So you're going to see that you can really plug anything for this supplementary exercise section, and you're going to be able to do it and superset it with this primary exercise here, because this doesn't take too much energy. Okay, and that's the beauty of this system. Then you're going to go from a primary lower body to a primary upper body. And you're going to do a push movement here. So this is your big compound push. It could be something like weighted dips. It could be something like bench press. It could be something like overhead press. Then you're going to superset that with a supplementary exercise similar to what we did over here. Now, remember, it's something that addresses mobility, stability, extensive work, isometrics, weak links, activation, but now it's for the upper body. So maybe, I got tight pecs, and that's always been a problem for me. You can do something like that, addressing that in this section. After you do the upper body push, you're going to go into a primary upper body pull. Then you're going to do the same thing, hit a supplementary exercise and superset. Then you're going to go back to an accessory exercise for the lower body. Now, you just hit a primary exercise for the lower body. Now you're doing something that maybe reinforces balances, reinforces the symmetry between both sides, something like a unilateral movement. Then it's really optional that you can do another supplementary exercise here. I put this as optional because sometimes you're doing something like a Bulgarian split squat where you have to go left, right, and damn near counts as 2 sets. It's going to be tough to, put in another exercise here. Okay. Then you finish off with another accessory. Now you can choose lower or upper, and then another optional supplementary. So this program isn't set in stone. This is just kind of like a general framework. But if you copy this, you're going to have a great workout. And, there's so much versatility to it. Like, This is another variation of the full body. It's very similar, but this is for someone that, is a power focus. Someone maybe like you're into Olympic lifting or something like that. So you're going to start it the same way, but instead of going into a lower body primary movement focused on strength, you can go into something like a power movement, right? Either upper or lower, right? You can start with some power cleans. You can start with some jerks, push jerks, something along those lines. Then you're going to go into your primary lower body lift, and the same pattern follows. You're going to do a supplementary exercise in between, and then you're going to hit a primary upper push, another supplementary in between. Then you're going to hit a primary upper pull, superset that with another supplementary. And then for time's sake, you can superset the last two lower body and upper body accessories in one superset here. So this is just to show you the versatility. Like, you can kind of play with it, but as long as you get that primary lower body movement, primary upper body push, primary upper body pull, and hit a couple accessories, this program should carry you through. You can hit it anywhere from 3 days to 5 days a week. So this is the full body program for the lethal build. Now I'm going to show you the upper and lower split. Now this is something that I like, upper and lower more than full body, just because it really allows me to push, like I said before. So if you wanted to do the upper lower split, you're going to do it 4 times a week, 2 uppers, 2 lowers. So I'm going to run you through the upper body aspect first. So first, you're going to start with a dynamic warm-up, same like we did in the full body. Then you're going to go into movement prep. Now, since you're working your upper body, the 3 main areas that you need to warm up are your shoulder, your thoracic spine, and your core. So you're going to do that, do some movements that prepare those regions of the body. Then you're going to go into a primary upper body push, then superset that with a supplementary exercise. Then you're going to go into a primary upper body pull, then superset that with a supplementary exercise, right? As you guys can see, it's very similar to the full body program, but now you're going to go into accessory exercises. So you're going to do an accessory exercise that focuses on pushing, right, using your chest and shoulders, and then do a supplementary to superset. Then you're going to do the same thing with a pull, so an accessory for the pulling muscles, right? So how I like to think about it, these are more intense, these are more for higher reps, more for hypertrophy, more for building muscle, while these, the primary upper pushes and upper pulls, are more for, developing strength, developing explosiveness, things like that. Then you can finish off with 2 accessories here, and you could superset them, it's optional, or you could just do them on their own. These are kind of more working the upper extremities, right, the arms, maybe some of the weak points. The reason I like upper and lower split better is because you have a little bit more accessories that you have room for at the end. When you're doing full body, it takes a lot of time to hit all these isolated areas, but with upper and lower, you have a little bit more room to target certain muscles, and it is a little bit better for hypertrophy that I found. For the lower body aspect of this upper and lower, it's very similar, right? Dynamic warm-up, general mobility plus activation. Then you're going to do your movement prep for the lower body. The 4 main areas that you need to warm up: hips, ankles, core, and I didn't put knees on there, but those are the 4 areas that you need to warm up. Then you're going to go into a primary lower body lift, so something like a squat pattern, something like a deadlift pattern, something like a maybe some reverse lunges, things like that. Then you're going to go into a supplementary exercise for the lower. Now you're going to go into another primary lower body exercise. Now, a very intense lower body exercise. But if you did something that targets the front of your lower body, so something with a heavy degree of knee bend, like squats or something like that, you want to do something here that targets more of the posterior chain. So you want to divide up the muscles worked. Then you're going to go into an accessory, and it's going to be a unilateral pattern. So I really like unilateral movements. So do something like a single leg RDL, lateral lunge, right? There's so many possibilities, a Bulgarian split squat. Then optionally, you could supplement that with a supplementary exercise and superset the 2. Then you're going to go into another accessory exercise, another unilateral accessory exercise, as well as supersetting that with another supplementary, and then finish off with another accessory, working on whatever muscle group you want to work on, and an optional supplementary exercise here. Now you're going to develop the strength, the power, and durability to a certain extent with these primary lifts. These are really going to push your force producing capacity, your ability to generate force fast, and it's also going to develop lean muscle mass, right? The supplementary exercises, they're going to work on your movement. They're going to work on all these more invisible qualities that you normally would not see. They're going to work on your stability. They're going to work on your work capacity. They're going to work on how well you are as a mover. They're going to work on different movement skills, okay? And then the accessory exercises are really going to build up your durability and give you enough volume for you to have a great body composition and have a high muscle mass based physique. So I know it was a long video. If anything, what I want you guys to take away is you want to include multiple aspects in your training. Stop training like a bodybuilder. Stop training solely like a powerlifter. Make sure that all these elements are included in your training. And I found that the best way to do it is divide those movements into 3 movement categories: primary, supplementary, accessory. And I really like to superset them like this, but try to fit all these things into one program. Yeah, that's pretty much the video. Here's the full body, upper, lower splits. Catch you on the next time. See you.